In this lesson, we'll discuss how to install Ubuntu from a CD or DVD. When you download the files you need to install Ubuntu from the website, they come in the form of an image or an ISO file. An ISO image is basically an archive file of an optical disc, CD or DVD. But in order to use the image, you have to burn it to a CD or DVD or copy it to a USB in a certain way. You can't simply copy the image like you would any other set of files and folders and have it work. For burning it to a CD or DVD, you'll have to use a utility specifically for image burning. For Windows, Windows 7 Disk Image Burner was built in. You can just right-click on your ISO file and select Burn Image. For other versions of Windows, you'll have to install your own. Please go to ninite.com, that's Ninite.com, and download an ISO burner from their Utilities section. You could use ImageBurn, CD Burner XP, or InfraRecorder. I'll use ImageBurn in this tutorial. Please be sure you don't download any of these from other sources. If you're not very careful, you'll be getting malware packaged in with the file you download. Files hosted on Ninite.com are malware-free. Select ImageBurn and any other software you find interesting on Ninite's main site. Click on Get Your Ninite. The files you chose will be bundled into one clean installer file for you to download. After that's complete, double-click on the file you downloaded to install your application or applications. If prompted, enter your credentials to complete the installation. Once you've installed ImageBurn, open it. In a web browser, browse to ubuntu.com/download and select your server or desktop operating system. Use the latest long-term support release, if you've not already done this. Bring ImageBurn up again and select Write Image File to Disk. Click on the icon with the folder and magnifying glass under Source and browse to your downloaded file. I'm using an Ubuntu server image in this example. Insert a writable CD or DVD into your burner. After the burn, ImageBurn will attempt to close the drive after it was ejected so it can verify that the burn was successful. In my case, since this was done on a laptop, this will not work. I have to manually close the drive so the verification can happen. Close the drive and then click on OK. ImageBurn will make sure there are no errors on the burned CD or DVD. Click on OK for the operation successfully completed and label your CD or DVD with a permanent marker if you want to keep it. Close ImageBurn. If you browse to the newly created CD or DVD, you'll see a file structure created in the burn. It includes a boot folder, which will be used during boot, and other folders the system will look for as it installs Ubuntu on your computer. For Mac OS X, the process is similar, but you use Mac-specific software to burn the image. I don't have a burner for my Mac, so I can't test this. But there's a link to an article in the downloadable resources for this lesson that says it can be done natively on a Mac if it's OS X El Capitan and I assume newer versions of OS X. Please find the link below and let me know if you have any issues. Before you can use the image you created to install Ubuntu from, you'll likely have to make a change to the BIOS, which will be covered in a lesson after the USB drive lesson. Next, we'll learn how to install Ubuntu from a USB drive. In this lesson, we'll discuss how to install Ubuntu from a USB drive. If you recall from the CD/DVD installation lesson, you can't just copy an ISO file to storage medium and boot to it and install Ubuntu. You have to use software designed to make the ISO usable. The software for creating a bootable USB from an ISO file is different from that used for the CD/DVD lesson, but other than that, the process is quite similar. For Windows, you'll be downloading an application called Rufus to create a bootable USB from the ubuntu.iso file you downloaded earlier. Open a web browser and go to rufus.akeo.ie. That's rufus.akeo.ie. Scroll down to the download section and click on the link to the latest version of Rufus. 2.18 at the time I'm making this video. Double-click on the downloaded file to run Rufus. You'll need a 2 GB or larger USB drive to install your ISO onto. It should be free, or you should be okay with formatting it, which will remove all of the data stored there. Again, be sure you're okay with losing all the data on that USB drive. Plug the USB device you intend to use into your Windows computer. Rufus will detect your USB drive and fill in information about it. Under Create a Bootable Disk Using, click on the folder icon and locate the downloaded ISO file. Click on it, then click Open. Rufus will find a new volume name for the device based on the name of the image file provided. You may or may not get the additional warning I received stating that some files would have to be downloaded from the internet. Click on Yes to download the files during the image creation process. Leave Write on ISO Image mode selected and then click on OK. Be sure you're okay with deleting all the data on the USB drive, then click OK to continue. The creation of your bootable USB will commence, and the USB will be made into a bootable device you can install Ubuntu from. I find it a little confusing for such an app, but Start will still be highlighted when the image is done. The status bar just above it will say Ready. Just click on Close to close Rufus. Browse to your newly created bootable USB device, and you'll see a file structure that looks very similar to that on the CD or DVD you burned in the last lesson, if you decided to complete that. In the next lesson, you'll see how to make changes to BIOS settings to boot to your CD or DVD or USB for a hardware install. For Mac OS X, the process is similar, but we'll use a program called Etcher instead of Rufus. Browse to etcher.io, that's etcher.io, and download the installer. After the download completes, double-click on the installer to open it. Follow the instructions, adding the installer file to your Applications folder. Open it by going to Launchpad, finding it, or browsing to it in your Applications folder. You'll get a warning saying that the Etcher app was downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? And then click Open. Click on Select Image, then browse to your downloaded ISO file. If you don't already have it, you can get it by going to ubuntu.com/download. If you have a USB device plugged in, Etcher will detect it. Use caution here. If you have multiple USB drives plugged in, whichever one you choose will be overwritten. I strongly recommend having only one USB drive plugged in at this time, and use this one to format and make your bootable device. If you don't have one plugged in, you'll be prompted as shown here. Plug in the device you want to use, remembering that your device will be erased and all information on it will be lost. The device will be detected and you can click on Continue. Click on Finish and the drive will be made bootable and will have an ubuntu.iso installed on it. Enter your password if prompted. The image will be installed and then validated. You'll get a message saying that the disk is not readable by your Mac, but click Eject to safely remove the USB drive. You'll likely have to make BIOS changes to the target system before it will boot to USB device. Making the required BIOS changes is covered in the next lesson.